Conservation Commission, public hearing, 7 PM, Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023.
So Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts Conservation Commission amended Order of Conditions and Land Disturbance Permit in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Walpole Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw and Regulations. Notice is hereby given of the intent of Bristol Brothers Development Corporation to amend the approved order of conditions, DEP 315-1173 at Remnar Avenue on West Street, map 32, parcels 85, 86, 94, 95, 96, map 40, parcel 6, map 39, parcel 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60, for the 100-unit AQV in Walpole, Mass. The amended order of conditions and land disturbance permit application and plans are on file at the Conservation Commission. Public hearing on the above matter was held on February 22nd, 2023 at 7:15, and it's been continued to this evening at 7 o'clock. Chairman, the applicant has requested a continuance of the letter.
On behalf of the applicant, Bristol Brothers Development Corp., we are requesting a continuance for the March 22nd, 2023 Walpole Conservation Commission hearing for the request to amend the order of conditions issued for the age-qualified visit. If you should have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact at 781-919-0808.
So the applicant has requested a continuance to the next available meeting, which is April 12th. And
We have 7 o'clock and 7:15 scheduled, so the next available will be 7:20.
would that be good? 7:20 on April 12th?
I'll accept a motion to that.
Did you move that?
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So Chairman, so now we have a little bit of time until our next hearing at 7:15. I do believe that the owners from 33 Clarkson Drive is here tonight, yes? So if you wanted to take the enforcement now.
Yeah, we have a little time, and this is a good time to do that. That's on our agenda, so it's legitimate to change it from later to this time slot, since it's not a hearing that's advertised for a particular time slot.
So if
Okay.
you want to just come forward and sit in front there and introduce yourself, and I'm just going to give the commission a little summary of
Okay.
my findings.
Okay, my name is Kimberly Salee, and me and my husband, we own the home on 33 Clarkson Drive in Walpole.
So I was notified by the building inspector that the call came in that there was some cutting on a lot at the end of Clarkson Drive, 33 Clarkson Drive. And it was believed that some of the cutting was either in the buffer zone or within the wetlands area. I was familiar with Clarkson Drive and knew there's quite a few wetlands out on the site, given that commission had also just done a determination for 31 Clarkson Drive, which was next door. So I think Stephanie has. So this picture is just from Near Maps. It's March 22nd, 2022. And then I think I have some photographs that Stephanie will put up of the site. So what I observed was, I was just estimating a 20 to 25-foot swath of tree and vegetation removal around 3 sides of the dwelling. I noticed, if you're standing in front of the house, to the left, standing water within the area of cutting. And then I went over to the other side, to the right side, and also noticed some areas that were damp and looked like there were wetlands areas. I went back to the office and drafted a enforcement order and a notice of noncompliance under the bylaw. And when I was out on the site, I did have contact with the owner who's here tonight and identified who I was and that I believe the cutting was in violation of the Wetlands Protection Act. I went back and issued an enforcement order, notice of non-compliance, asked her to come to this meeting, asked her to contact a consultant to delineate the boundary of the wetlands, and then to start to put together a restoration plan, first in writing or a plan. John Glosser came into the office today. He had been out to the site. He did have the wetlands identified and provided me with a plan that showed the delineated wetlands and the beginning of a restoration plan.
We don't have that?
So I just have one copy and Stephanie has it up on the board there. You didn't bring any other copies?
No, he told me that he dropped everything off, and I think he said he was gonna PDF you a file as well.
Yeah, good. So I guess that's my summary. So it's an area definitely within the 100-foot buffer zone, within the 25 buffer zone. Some areas that are actually in the wetlands, some areas that are actually off property site on John and Gay Sanzi's property. So there's a lot going on there.
So,
Can you explain what is going on there?
yeah, so we had some down trees from some bad weather, and we didn't realize it was wetlands. We just figured we're just cutting down some trees, cleaning up a little bit back there, things that branches were coming down. So when she came and she told me, we were kind of shocked. We didn't know that we had touched things in the wetland. I got in touch with Glosser Engineering right away. He came out, and we started a restoration plan.
Okay, so, Dean, any comments?
Do you have, so you're gonna do like a building, you're gonna do an addition or anything?
Oh, no.
Okay, this was just land clearing?
Yeah, because our fence surrounds like our backyard, and those trees were kind of like over the fence. Some branches down, some things like that, so we were just cleaning up, not knowing there was wetlands back there. I thought the wetlands were way further back.
Did you use an arborist, a licensed arborist?
Like a tree company, yes.
Okay, that's interesting how they wouldn't know either. All right, no more questions. I mean, we're gonna see a planting plan, right, Landis, eventually?
I mean, I'm just doing a quick counting, there's like over 20 trees or saplings that are 12 inches or more. That's more than just a few trees. I mean, it was like 20 to 25 feet on 3 sides of your house. That was, all the vegetation was completely taken down.
Well, there were some things that were already down.
All the vegetation within like 20 feet was completely taken down.
So I think when they went in and they cleaned up anything that was breaking or anything that was down, they just cleaned up that whole section.
Tree companies don't normally do that unless they're told to clear a whole area, so. it
Right,
seems
once
like that's
again,
what
us
was-
not knowing that we were in wetland area. We thought that was still within the property. I wasn't aware that there was a 25-foot buffer zone or a 100-foot buffer zone.
Is there a future plan for the cleared area?
No.
So far today, John Glosser did drop off a plan that is a restoration plan for Sweet Fern, Low Blueberry Bush, Bayberry, and Virginia Rose. So those aren't trees.
Those are shrubs.
Those are all
Right.
low. So I think they need to do a little more work. We need to figure out exactly what makes sense to plant back there, what makes sense and not disturbing a lot more of the area to plant back. I am concerned because at the end of Clarkson Drive at the cul-de-sac, there's a lot of knotweed. So typically what happens when you open canopies like this is you're just opening the door for invasive species, and then that's like really hard to get rid of, which becomes more of a headache for the homeowner as
John
well.
did mention that to me, that they said there was some down there.
Right. and that's
Then
what
he had
happens.
suggested those bushes. He said because trees, you'd need machines and whatnot, he said they're better to go with, you know, smaller bushes, shrubs, ferns, those type of things that I wouldn't need to put machines down there.
So what I would suggest, recommend to the commission would be the one making the decision, is that either through John or through you, that you contact a wetland specialist. John's an engineer.
Yes.
So a wetland specialist that can go out there and give a little more professional information of what can be restored. I mean, there are areas where trees are planted, so I think the planting plan needs to be worked on.
Bailey?
Have the owners of the other property been notified that some of their vegetation has been cut down?
I wasn't aware of that. This is
So
the
you
first.
cut down vegetation on Zanzi's property.
Right, I wasn't aware. No one had said anything to me about that. I didn't know that.
Who is the tree company?
I don't have the name offhand. My
Okay.
husband did all that.
Maybe you could
I can-
possibly
yeah.
follow up with that, please? Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think the plan needs to be reworked, and clearly the other property owners need to be identified, and maybe we get some land markers out there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would agree with Landis, that we need to have a more comprehensive plan in place, including trees, because that's what you cut down. And so we need that as well. So we need for you to come back to us with something like that that's more comprehensive, so we
Okay.
can take a look at that as well. And then, having the markers, as you said, that delineate the 25-foot, so in the future, this doesn't happen again. So that's all I've got.
Well, some of my questions have been asked and answered, I guess. I'm puzzled by the tree company, having had occasionally a tree company come in, and it's a huge, great big deal as to where my property is, where the neighbors is, where this is, where that is, what you're doing. So it was a regular tree company from around here?
I'm not sure where they're based out of.
It just doesn't sound like the usual tree company behavior. It's usually a big rigmarole with these.
There are markers as of now where our land is and where it ends, so I'm not sure if,
Okay. Because they don't usually like to cut on other people's property. So you moved there recently?
it's 2 years.
Look, this is the property.
Invasives are a huge problem as soon as you open up that area. I didn't realize until Landis said it, that you've got invasive knotweed nearby. In no time at all, those roots are gonna head right around there, and it's, yeah. So
mess.
that's why the planting plan is so crucial, because
She said it started
you'll be sorry to have a backyard full of invasives.
Exactly.
And we will too. So, all right, that's it for now.
Okay, so we'll continue this until we have a more comprehensive plan.
Oh, wait, can I just say something? What's the optimal time of year for things to go in? Because I don't want to have this dragged
In
on.
the
like-
next,
now.
in the next month,
April.
yeah.
That's what I mean. So it can't be like when we see the
Oh, yeah,
plan,
no,
because if it's
Dwaley.
round about June, then
So.
the knotweed will have kicked in.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
So we want, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
so our next meeting is April 12th. I would suggest that they get additional information regarding trees and plantings by April 5th, which is a week before.
Okay, in contact with the neighbors too, because we had a similar situation. The neighbors have to sort of be aware of what's going on.
Right. Right, the neighbors will have to be contacted.
By who?
Well, I can contact them, but they should also contact them. I mean, they cut vegetation on
So
someone
it's,
else's property,
31?
so- No, if you've looked at John Glosser's
Uh-huh.
plan, John Zanzi owns the strip in between 31 and your property, and also to the rear of your property,
Oh, okay,
on
okay.
an area that you
Okay.
cut. You cut along here, and that's their property, and you cut along the rear, and that's
Okay.
their property.
So it's more, it's how many people?
One.
One,
Oh, one person.
just one. Yep.
Okay, so we'll continue this to April 12th. What time?
Well, it's an enforcement, so you don't have to put in a time
Right.
specific,
Okay.
unless you want to. You want to just put them on for 7:30? Or do you want to just leave it as an
Just leave it,
enforcement?
it's an enforcement order.
Yeah,
But,
Okay.
so you do want something by
By the
5th?
5th. Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Any members of the public that have not signed in on the sign-in sheet, I'm just gonna ask you to do that before we move on to the next public hearing.
Okay, so I think it's 7:15.
Yep. Union Street.
Sidewalks.
So there's quite a few people here, do you want to just kind of give them the protocol for talking for a public
Yeah,
hearing at some
yeah.
point?
Okay, so this is a public hearing for Town of Walpole on Union Street sidewalks. And what we're concerned about here at the Conservation Commission is we're concerned about wetland issues and the stream. We're not concerned about traffic or any of those kind of things, because that's not part of the Wetlands Protection Act or the Town of Walpole Wetlands Bylaw. So when it's your turn to speak, if you so desire, please keep it to wetland issues, representing the applicant.
Take that change, no one's using it.
Okay, and during the public hearing, if you could just remain quiet, and then once the public hearing is open, the applicant will present the project, then the commissioners will ask questions, and then the chairman, after that, will ask if anyone in the audience has any questions, and you would come up and direct your questions to the chair. So no side conversations, if you would, please. Thank you. Conservation Commission notice of intent in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice is hereby given of the intent of the town of Walpole to construct a new 5-foot wide sidewalk on Union Street, map 21, lot 4-1, within 100 feet of wetlands resource area and within 200 feet of Travelers Brook in Walpole. Plans are on file at the Conservation Office. The public hearing on the above matter will be held in person on March 22nd, 2023, beginning at 7:15 p.m. All interested persons are requested to be present. Contact Conservation at 508-660-7253 with questions. John Wiley, Chairman, Walpole Conservation Commission.
Representing the applicant?
Me. My name is Mike Carter from GCG Associates. Where would you like me to put the boards that I brought? Do you have a preference location?
Put that right in the middle would be fine.
Facing towards you?
Okay, I have a letter from the Board of Health. Will not be meeting before comments are due on March 22nd. Therefore, the Health Department would like to make comments based on Board of Health standard motion. Board of Health is not in favor of construction within the 100-foot buffer zone.
just to let everyone know, all the plans that are being shown to the commission are also on the TVs.
And my apologies, I had color copies of these for you.
You have to get one of the mics and hold it while you talk, because otherwise it's not recorded for people at home. So you can carry it with you.
All right.
No awkward.
Mike's not there yet.
I figured
Price
that.
is
So,
Right.
my name is Mike Carter from GCG Associates. As you were aware, the applicant is the town. I'm here on behalf of the town to present the project that we've submitted to you. And as indicated in the notice, is basically the town is looking at putting a sidewalk from Brook Lane and down to the town and Norwell Town Line. There's existing sidewalks that come down Union Street to Brook Lane, and then across Brook Lane, and the sidewalks are not there. The resource area is mainly the Trap Hole Brook, is probably, which is a riverfront, a river. And so if you look at sheets 3 and 4, that's pretty much where I'm going to be talking about all night. That doesn't show up there, okay. So if, so sheet 3, if you look at sheet 3, the top is basically, Brook Lane is located right here. Am I doing something wrong?
No.
Okay. It's right here, and then you walk down Union Street this way, that heads towards Norwell, and that would bring you down, and then it continues down on the bottom of the sheet.
So towards Norwood.
Yeah.
Did I say Nor, yeah, I said Norwell, sorry.
That's
a long way to go.
That's a long side.
That's a long sidewalk.
Paying for that.
Not me, sorry about
Down
that.
the wall.
That's, the project starts at Brook Lane and continues down to the town line, short of obviously Route 1. There is no existing sidewalk there. We're on the southerly side, which is the Brook Lane side. What we're proposing to do is to construct a 5-foot wide sidewalk with a granite curb. Some areas we have islands. If you look on the plan, you might see these skinny green strips. That's where we're going to have a grass island between the curbing and the sidewalk, if it's permitted. So the resource areas that we have. Starting on the first sheet, number 3, the first resource area here we have is Trap Hole Brook, which is a river. So we have, if you look on the plan, you see the solid blue lines below, that's your top of bank. And then there's 3 36-inch culverts that go underneath the road. We will not be touching those or doing any work with them. And then the dashed blue line on the plan, that's your BVW. And then as you proceed, there's also floodplain. There's 2 different floodplains here. There's a AE zone, which is elevation 12 on the plan, but we went through the hydrologic study, and it's a little higher than that in the actual study, and I'll go over that in a second. And that's the orange line on both sides, so you can see the road. In theory, during a 100-year event, it shouldn't overtop the road. So you have that resource area there. Then you have your 100-foot and your 200-foot riverfront areas. We're obviously starting on Brook Lane, so we're inside the 100-foot on this side, riverfront, and then we're in the 100-foot on this side, which is the yellow on the plan, which is not easy to see up there. And then the 200-foot is out in here. So I'm going to just kind of go through each. There's 3 areas where we're in resource areas. I'll just go down and go over them with you. So in this area, we're doing work in the riverfront, grass sidewalk. And actually, if you went out there today, there's about a 6 to 7, 8-foot strip of grass that goes along the road. And actually, it's pretty well traveled. As a matter of fact, it's a dirt path. There's grass on either side, and there's about maybe 2-foot wide dirt path. It looks like looks like walkers continue down the road into, there's a complex right here, which is I believe it's at least one residential home. There's a lot of cars in there when I went by. So someone uses this quite a bit in this area. So we would be inside your resource areas. Basically, we're just taking the grade, putting a 6-inch reveal curb there. There's already an existing modified Cape Cod berm, which is about 12 inches wide. Has a reveal, we'll say about 3 inches. So in theory, we're putting a 6-inch one, so it'll be about 3 inches higher than what is there today when we're done. We will be putting a guardrail on the head wall for the Trap Hole Brook. I'm actually there, right now there's a wooden handrail that's been put there, which is okay for pedestrians, but we're proposing a guardrail in that location. And I'll give you all the numbers when I get to the end, how much floodplain or what work we're doing. I just want to give the big picture. So if you can see, the amount of work in the floodplain right here is about, it's very small. It's about maybe 20 square feet in this area. There's, in this elevation on this side of the river during 100-year floodplain is 103.7. The road is above that elevation. And then on this side, the elevation is 102.6. So there's about a foot drop hydraulically in the floodplain from one side to the other. So that's that resource area. Then as you continue down Union Street, you'll start to see that we come into another kind of floodplain, which is the orange dashed line here. And it continues on the next sheet, and we'll go over that in a few minutes. That's called an AO floodplain that doesn't have an identified elevation. What it says is that the floodplain is, can be up to 2 feet deep, is basically what it is in that area. And if you look at it, I don't really understand the basis of it. I think that might be, this is just, we took this from a scanned image of the FEMA maps. So that would in theory mean that this side of the road doesn't get flooded and this side does, and it stops at the center line of the road. So we put it on there because that's what the FEMA map shows. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you start looking at it. But I want to show you that we're doing, it continues pretty much all the way down to the end of the project, that we're in this AE, not AO. AE means it's a determined elevation. So we would be working in there in this floodplain, same kind of thing, granite curb, sidewalk. Here we have a stream right in this area. It's been flagged. Bank is the blue. The dash blue is BVW. So we only have 100-foot buffers. It's not a perennial stream based upon USGS map and area. But it is a tributary. It flows right in the Trap Hole Brook on this side. There's actually another one coming up. So that's the work in this area. As you can see, we still have a green island, and then what happens is when we get up to here, it becomes more difficult to put the island in. From a construction standpoint, we move to curb-tight sidewalks, no island. And that's when we kind of leave the residential area and we start getting into the commercial area where it may not be maintained and it end up becoming weeds. So that's sheet 3. Here's the Norwood Town line. So the sidewalk continues. Again, you can see the floodplain continues right down. If you look at the FEMA maps in the report we submitted, it just is a straight line pretty much down the center line of the road, saying it floods on one side, doesn't on the other. If you really kind of thought about it, maybe it floods 0 at the crown, and as you go into the commercial lots, it floods up to 2 feet. It doesn't make a lot of sense because in some areas, the parking lots are slightly above the road, and it just, something's amok. So here we have a BVW, and we're inside the 100-foot, basically all the way up to the town line, and then we would stop it. So that's the project. It's about 13, I don't want to misquote myself. It's about 1,300 feet long from limits of the project. And what we're doing also, if you look on the plan, I didn't really point it out, but we have erosion control, not on this one side, but when we're doing the work on sheet 3. It's red on my plan. Basically, there's straw wattles, compost filter actually on this town, and then we also have it down here when we're inside the 100-foot resource area. To give you an idea of the numbers that were impacting the wetlands, so we have a total of 1,092 square feet inside the riverfront area, of which 716 square feet is 100 to riverfront to 100, and 384 is 100 to 200. In the floodplain, basically what we have is we have total area of 5,000 square feet. Basically, if you take 5,000 divided by 500, that gives you the length of sidewalk in that area. So we have about 1,000 feet of sidewalk there. Inside that second floodplain, that was not the determined elevation, and that amounts to about 1,814 cubic feet of flood storage loss, which if you take 81 divided by 30, it's about 30 yards in fill in overall. In the secondary floodplain, in the Trap Hole Brook floodplain, we have about 1 yard total. It's very small, because as I said, we're just filling it up about 3 inches. So that's kind of the big picture. I certainly can go into any details or any questions that anybody might have.
Okay, so now, in my quick look at this, I see only one handicap access point. Is there any reason why there's only one?
So there's no crosswalks, or there's no walk on the other side. So we start out, it's handicap accessible, and that's at the very end of the project, because that's where we terminate it. Handicap access is put where you have, like, for example, if there was a cross street, if there's no streets on the north side, so there's no spot to put pedestrians across except into the right-of-way on the other side. So that's why there's no handicap access points.
Okay, now, as I go down that street, I see houses on both sides of the street. So if somebody's handicapped on the street opposite this sidewalk, they have to access the sidewalk somehow, and I only see that one. Now, that's not a wetland issue, but I'm not handicapped at this point, maybe later, but I'm sort of conscious of that. It looks like this project has a benefit for everybody in the neighborhood anyway. But I notice that there's people walk through there getting to stores and things out on Route 1, so I see the need. And since it's not expanding and filling in wetlands, I don't see that this is a big thing, but I'd like to hear from the other members of the commission. Dean?
Are you gonna cut down any trees?
No. If you go out there right now, you'll see that it's pretty well defined.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is going, okay, and for the top up here, Stephanie, can you zoom in on the first edge of our compost sock? I'm hoping that we don't block this person's driveway. Just make sure our compost sock stays off that person's driveway.
We have it just short of there, I think, when I zoom in on it.
Then the culvert, so we're gonna be driving guardrails into above the culvert. What's the culvert made out of?
The culverts are made out of reinforced concrete. So obviously, there's a planning process when you get out there. You don't drive post into culverts.
No.
Yeah, so you go, basically, when it happens, you go out there, you stand on the end of the culvert, you look in, okay, here's the edge of the culvert, here's the edge of the culvert. There's 3 of them in parallel, so they're 36 inches. I don't know the spacing off the top of my head, but you're gonna drive a post 3 feet apart. Or we'll say it'll probably end up being 36, 3-inch wall, so that's 42 inches, so they're probably about 4 feet on center.
Okay.
And that's,
Plenty of cover for the culvert, because we're concerned about the culvert.
just for how much to cover, so the road is at elevation 103. The culverts are at invert 97. So 103, 97, call it 98, so it's 5 feet. There's about 2.5 feet of cover over the culverts, based upon
Okay.
one check. There's multiple inverts.
It's gonna go in front of the factory with the Tesla, not the factory, but the warehouse with the Teslas and the storage facility. It's gonna go in
Is
front
that
of that.
correct? Okay, yes.
Right. Because we also gave them an approval to work, so we should make sure that we're not interacting or disturbing their work also. because they're working in front.
Right, they're connecting to the sewer.
It's
So I
doing
don't-
two.
Did they
Remember
already,
they-
did they already do that?
No, they haven't done that
They haven't
yet.
done that yet, so there'll be coordination between, they'll have to coordinate between the
I
two.
think they're gonna do the sewer through their driveway, so it shouldn't impact the sidewalk at all.
Perfect.
And I know that they just recently, one of the requirements of their order of conditions to connect to the sewer, because they were going over the tributary to Tropical Brook, was to make sure that that culvert was, okay. So they did a camera of it, everything's fine.
And that's the easternmost culvert, not
Yeah.
this one. Can you bring up Google Street? Actually, that doesn't really have to do with the wetlands, but.
And- So it's further downward, it's actually Trapple Brook, which is, there's quite a, kind of an incline where it comes into the pipes and goes under Union Street, but that's the
Can
area
you drop
that's
a
the
pin right
most
there,
sensitive.
Stephanie, right where your arrow is? Like it's, right where the words say Union Street next to the factory, so the warehouse. Yeah, put your mouse a little to the right. Can you put a street view? So for my own edification, there's enough room in between the fence and that, and the roadway to fit this sidewalk?
That's why we went curb tight in that area. We have a grass strip down the rest of the way.
Okay, we
So we're
don't-
gonna be cutting, if you look here, you can see where it's sloped up on the edge of pavement, so you have a modified Cape berm. Looks actually, they probably did, we're gonna saw cut that, so,
Oh, okay.
so that comes, we're gonna saw cut down the street. And they'll put the granite curbing, and so the face of the granite curbing is gonna be,
There won't be this
Yeah.
soft curve anymore.
well, the soft, that's what earlier I said, there's already a berm there, and that's why there's it might even be a 4-inch, I haven't measured it,
You
but,
can see the footpath there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty well, that's actually, if you go to the other end, it's very well
We
defined.
want to make sure that there's no, so you're going to do silt sack inserts in our catch basins here?
Yes, actually, I didn't go over that. The 6th sheet of the plans has all those details on it, sill sack, erosion control.
We want those in
sediment.
before you do saw cutting, please,
Yes.
because it creates a lot of water,
Yeah.
a lot of material.
Yes.
Okay, no more questions, thank you.
Bailey?
Answered my question. I was curious why the granite curbing versus the flat one, so I'm good. Thank you.
Medium?
How long is it gonna take the project? What's the duration?
So, there's 1,000 feet, normal construction-wise, probably like 30 to 60 days. 30 to 60, once they start, 30 to 60 days.
We're hoping to get it has to be done by July 1st. That's when the contractor legally doesn't have a contract with us.
Joe, can you just identify yourself
Oh,
for the
I'm Joe Conrad.
channel?
I'm Joe Conrad. I'm assistant town engineer.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I have more questions, Al, if you don't mind.
No.
Sure.
What are you going to do with the soil you excavate?
So the contractor, well, are you putting this out to bid? Is that the plan?
It's already been bidded on.
Oh, okay.
Just not going to stockpile on site?
No, they'll live load is what they'll do, is the truck will be sitting there, they'll excavate it out, they'll bring it down to subgrade, take that away, then they have to bring in gravel, 8 inches of gravel, so it'll be what you call a live load, the truck backs up. There'll be no displacing soil,
And
leaving
same thing
box.
with, just ensure, please, that there's no concrete washout in our wetland areas.
Yes, good point,
Thank you.
really good point.
So,
Medium?
that's it.
No comment.
I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So will there be a staging area, or is everything gonna be live truck?
The only thing that would have to be probably on site is the granite curbing, but they could bring that in every day.
Okay, so the gravel and
No, they would bring that in every day on the
That's
truck.
live.
Great.
The other question is just while Stephanie had the Google map up, I know that in front of the transit company area parking lot, it floods a lot there. That overflows kind of onto the shoulder of the road.
Right in that, right where that puddle is right there?
Further down.
Evidence.
So you'll have a berm from the sidewalk on the roadside, but
So that, actually,
consider.
if you read our narrative, we commented on that, and that's something that would have to be addressed, try to be addressed. without reconstructing the road. You could put a leveling course in there to try to get the water. It's just a low point in the road, and since they're going to be doing paving and everything, it's an ideal time to try to address that. And actually, if you look on the topo, we picked up on that in our report. We're like, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure water doesn't, you don't get that when we put our curbing in, and we were aware of that.
Right, and we tried to get them to address it when they were doing their work, but it was an existing condition, so they didn't really tackle it, but. Be conscious of.
Okay. Anybody from the public that would like to speak, identify yourself? Anybody? You must have done a good job.
Or they're here for another project.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want to do, Landis? Do you think we don't need to continue this?
Yeah, I don't, it doesn't sound like the commission had any additional information they were requesting, so it would be closing it.
Okay, so I'll accept a motion to close the hearing.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have any special conditions, Landis?
The only special condition I would add, which we did for the Tesla project, is just that, the town engineering department be out there when they're crossing the streams, just to monitor any potential problems, and if there's any problems with the culverts, that conservation should be notified.
Okay. We should have a motion to accept that condition.
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So your motion is to issue the order of conditions?
Yeah.
And here's that. Well, they don't have to be, but they do. Mr. Chairman, if you would, just for the earlier enforcement, I had the authority to issue the enforcement order, which I did, but if the commission could just vote to ratify the enforcement order, I would appreciate it.
I'd accept a motion to that.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, remember to give the public that have not signed it. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, while you're signing that, I'm gonna read the ad for the next hearing, if that's okay?
That's good. That's good.
So, Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts Conservation Commission, notice of intent in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice is hereby given of the intent of the Town of Walpole to construct a pull-off on North Street to access conservation land, map 9, lot 18-1, within 100 feet of wetlands resource area in Walpole, Mass. Plans are on file at the Conservation Commission office. The public hearing on the above matter will be held in person on March 22nd, 2023, beginning at 7:20. All interested persons are requested to be present. Contact Conservation 508-660-7253. With questions, John Wiley, Chairman, Walpole Conservation Commission. Okay,
Do we have any letters from anybody?
good question. We have a letter from the Board of Health.
Board of Health will not be meeting before comments are due on March 22nd. Therefore, the Health Department would like to make comments based on the Board of Health standard motion. Board of Health is not in favor of construction within the 100-foot buffer zone. Representing the applicant.
Well, good evening. My name is Joseph Conran. I'm Assistant Town Engineer for the Town of Walpole. I'm here to present the North Street pull-off area off of North Street, close to Fisher Street and Adams Farm. We're basically proposing to do is 14 by 40 pull-off area made of gravel. That is going to be surrounded by a stone wall that we have to reconstruct because North Street is a scenic road and there is a stone wall inside of the right-of-way. Since the stone wall is inside of the right-of-way, we have to do a scenic road hearing. We do not intend to be within the 25-foot buffer zone to do any of the work. We plan on doing all gravel to not affect the runoff of the area now. I submitted some pictures for the commission, basically showing existing conditions of the area as it shows now. It looks like we would have to fill in about 5 feet of soil to match existing grade of the road to make the pull-off area level with the road, so cars can drive on it. Also, due to deed restrictions, there will be no parking at the site. Other than that, I'm open for questions from the board.
Landis?
So I guess just a general summary, since, so this is land that was purchased by the Conservation Commission from the New England Forest Foundation about a year ago, with the intent to use it for passive recreation, and also because this parcel abuts the Neponset land holding land to Willet Pond, where there is a public access easement. So the intent was to have a parcel where the town of Walpole residents could go down to Willet Pond through the public access easement and enjoy the pond. Eventually, there will be a little boardwalk that would cross over to the Land Holdings property. We'd also discuss this all with Land Holdings and the Friends of Willet Pond when that portion of the project moves forward. This filing was particularly for the pull-off so that somebody could come by and pull off of North Street and unload a small boat, kayak, non-motorized boat. And since we cannot allow parking, drive their car up to Adams Farm and park at Adams Farm. And then you're able to walk down from Adams Farm, but we would have a more delineated path so people could walk down from Adams Farm and then access this property. When we started this design, we knew we would like a pull-off because right off on the side of the road, the slope is quite steep. You would step off of North Street and basically fall down 5 feet onto the property grade. So we wanted to make it safer for even if there was a pedestrian that was coming down this way, knowing that the street is rather busy, that there is an area where they could safely cross the street. Then it was also brought up by the building inspector that we would need to have a transition area, and that's what the yellow area is there, from the pull-off down to the property to a grade that is at 3-to-1, is that what it is, Joe?
Yeah,
That yellow area?
Yeah.
So there would be a 3-to-1 grade between the pull-off and down onto the property. That came up while we're in the middle of designing this particular plan, so we need to decide the most sensitive way for the property to provide that 3-to-1 slope. If it's fill, or if it's a boardwalk, or something like that. The most sensitive way, that least amount of trees would have to be taken out in order to safely get someone from the pull-off down onto the property. DEP did comment that we needed to provide a stormwater report, and that was provided. It's because it's a gravel area, so the stormwater is really minimum. Most of the stormwater will perk into the ground. Some of it will just roll off the area as it does now and go into the wooded area. So it really shouldn't be a erosion problem from this small pull-off area. Yes, those are my comments.
Okay. Dean?
Stephanie, can you show the plan with the erosion controls, please?
This is the only plan.
Really? There's one on the internets, there's another one.
What?
It's 2 pages up. Yeah, up. You're going down. Sheet 13 of your submittal. There's another plan. Yeah, this one.
Oh, more a detail, the
Yeah,
detail.
the detail.
Right, this is on the same sheet.
Yep, so here you guys, you can see the erosion controls. Okay, great, so our resource area is protected by this erosion control, that's great. No other questions?
Just curious, how are we keeping the gravel contained in that area?
so basically, if you look at the plan, if you notice, there's a little bit of a white area between that and the stone wall. There's probably be a little bit of a grass strip, trying to contain it in that one area.
Right, and what about from the road?
What do you mean?
It would be matching grade, so it wouldn't,
If cars are pulling in and then pulling out, sometimes the rock will get on the road.
You guys are gonna use dense grade gravel, you're gonna
Yeah.
compact it.
yeah, compact it.
It'll be as hard as concrete.
Perfect. That's it.
Oh,
Thank you.
sure, yeah. Yeah.
How long do you think that'll take?
I believe the Walpole DPW is gonna do all the work, so the second we get approval, I think we'll start working on it.
Okay. How long, like a week or two, or
Probably maybe a month,
a month, yeah?
yeah.
Okay. In that transition, what's that gonna be made of? Is that gravel as well, that yellow,
The probably be gravel, whichever what you guys want,
yeah,
since it's your land.
That we're not sure. I didn't want a huge amount of fill
right,
to go down to make this 3-to-1
Right.
slope, which would be a lot larger area, so hoping to do something else. We need to figure that
a
out.
wooden structure, maybe, or something, yeah, okay, okay. That's all I got.
I was just wondering, did New England Forestry put a deed restriction on concerning parking, or was it?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
when we received the deed, one of the requirements was no parking,
Mhm. That's
no
it for-
parking lot.
That's it for now.
And that's okay, because we don't need to have the associated problems of parking and automobiles staying there. Okay, so I guess what we have is people that are interested in this project, and if you are interested, remember that this is a conservation issue, not a traffic issue or anything like that. So
So you don't care about safety?
So in a minute,
It's a moral
wait,
issue
can you
as
just
well.
wait a minute? In a minute, the chairman will open it up to the audience, as I explained before. You can come up one by one to the microphone and state your concerns. Otherwise, it's recorded, and people at home are gonna hear like, they're not gonna hear everything. So if we could just follow that protocol.
So this is a conservation issue, not a traffic issue, and things like that, so, we're operating under the restrictions of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Walpole Wetland Bylaw. We're not-
Could I ask a question of you, Al, about that particular? So is there a committee that this is going before concerning traffic? Linus, do you happen to know? I mean, I know we're conservation, so we're jurisdictional for wetlands and the like.
Well, I
We're not
think-
jurisdictional for traffic at all. We have no control over traffic. But is this going before anyone?
Since this is a scenic road, I think it has to go through the planning board,
So it's going to
doesn't it?
planning board, and that's, planning board is concerned with traffic.
So it's going before the planning board for the scenic road hearing, which is for the rock wall and the trees. I think their jurisdiction is just rock wall. I would suggest that if we maybe just break it out so that this is a hearing for the permit to do the work within the Wetlands Protection Act. I thoroughly understand there's a lot of other issues. So either have questions pertaining to that come up first, and then either schedule for next hearing or later on in this hearing, a time for people to come and discuss the other issues that pertain to it being conservation land, which would be would be addressed to you as the Conservation Commission. But it doesn't really have to do with the permit that's being issued under the Wetlands Protection Act and local bylaw.
Okay, so,
How you want to handle that is really up to you.
so if you have comments about conservation issues, identify yourself, and let's have a civic conversation. Anybody interested in speaking? Yeah.
Just identify
I just had a
yourself and your
question or
address,
two.
please. And
John Mustonen, Bullet Lane, Walpole. Just looking at the plan, just for clarification, the orange area, is that going to be steps? What is that orange pad coming down off the apron?
The issue of the 3-to-1 slope from the pullout down to the property came in late. And the issue being because it's a new construction, the pull-off, that it had to be a 3-to-1 slope, which is accessible. At the time, we don't know exactly how we're going to do that. So that is going to be determined a little bit later.
But was that intended to be stairs?
We do not know.
Don't know.
It can't be stairs, it
Okay.
has to be accessible.
So how-
it has to be a 3-to-1 slope, which is accessible, either more fill, or it could be a wooded boardwalk, could be something like that.
And how far out would the 3-to-1 slope go into the conservation area?
If it's 5 feet, 15 feet.
Yeah, 15.
15 feet. So it would just be sloped down from the, I guess, the east side of the
Wall.
pull-out area down onto the forest area, huh? And that would be gravel, did I hear?
Don't know yet
Okay.
if it's gonna be gravel, or if
Yeah.
it could be a boardwalk.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a beautiful natural area there now. I'd hate to see it just be gravel, frankly.
I think that's the intent.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to just dump
Yeah.
more gravel and dirt there. If we could come up with a more creative way to cut down less trees, I think that's what we would
Yeah.
rather do.
And I guess you're well out of the no disturb area with respect to the wetland near the stream, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Those are the only questions I had. I'm concerned with safety issues, but that's going to be another committee. Will we have the opportunity to question that at the planning board?
No, I think the commission needs to address that, as this was conservation land and their project, but because it's not pertaining to the permit to work within 100 feet of the wetlands, they either need to do it later, they need to do it at another meeting.
Yeah. I think anyone who's traversed that street, it's very narrow there and very high-speed traffic, and there's no apron really to even walk on. It's very, very dangerous, and I just think this is going to exacerbate that danger with people pulling off there and people lining up behind them to pull in there, but that's planning board.
I think we're all fully aware that it's a narrow street. I drive it almost
Scary
every
when you're
day.
walking there. It's
Okay,
actually
and
scary.
And
you know?
I don't understand how
Stop the absurdity right here.
how people would ride a bike along there and be happy. So we're aware of that, but this part of this hearing anyway is to deal with wetland issues,
I understood. Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Anybody
Sorry about
else?
the mask, I have an immune deficiency.
You're fine.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yeah,
Thanks.
identify yourself.
Good evening. I'm Katie Sissel. I just visited this site yesterday
Where do you live?
on 536 Fisher Street,
Okay.
before it becomes North Street. I'm wondering why we would disturb this riparian environment, the wetland, and issue a permit to work within the wetland 100 feet, or at 100 feet, for this pullout. Why would we do this, given there's ample nearby parking at Adams Farm? The proposed pullout is on this busy, narrow, dangerous street where currently the cars are protected from stopping by a stone wall. There's a vastly more accessible lake public access for small boat and kayak launching 2 minutes away, where people don't have to walk a quarter or half mile down to the lake from the proposed pullout. And finally, that the New England Forestry Foundation deed to this property specifically states no parking is allowed, and you haven't discussed how preventing people from actually parking at the pullout would be prevented. We all know people do not follow signs and that people will park. So I'm just wondering, given all of that, why would we do this bigger pullout and disturb that riparian environment when we could just do a nice
Just to clarify,
trail?
it's not riparian, sorry.
A wetland environment then.
It's not a wetlands either, it's just 100 feet from a wetlands.
So why would we work in this area, given all of that, when we could just do a nice little trail? I think that's really important to ask ourselves. That's
I guess the simple answer to that is we acquire parcels of land for people in the town to use the land, and sometimes we have to make a compromise to get to the spot that we want to use, okay? This is giving us an access to the pond, and whether or not anybody, after they look at the situation, would bother trying to carry a canoe or a kayak all the way down there, but we would be remiss if we didn't at least make it possible for those diehards that, just like the people that ride a bike on this street, you know, there's going to be somebody that wants to do it, and we don't want it to be a hardship above what's reasonable. So we have to make this access, and nowadays people arrive in an automobile, and what if, now, me, for example, I wouldn't want to walk all along the street from Adams Farm to here. I'm not as young as I used to be. I would like to have somebody drop me off there. And that would be a way of using that property. And then I could, at my own pace, get down to the pond. So that's what this is about. This is not about making a paved highway down to the pond. You don't see anything here talking about a concrete or a asphalt sidewalk going down to the pond. What we have to do is we have to make sure that the path to the pond is stable and safe to walk on to get down to the pond. So that's what this is about, an access for those residents of this town. And since it's public property, we can't prevent somebody from another town, but it's for us to use. And that's what it's all about, making it possible for somebody like us to use this access to the pond.
And I absolutely agree with you. I think a beautiful trail access would be lovely, and I absolutely support that. I just don't see the need to disturb the area with a pullout when you could drive around to Brook Street and be dropped right at the beach and take your kayak and right about, 15 steps to the lake, 2 minutes away. So I'm having a real hard time agreeing with your point, and I would challenge anyone
There's no
to-
parking lot at the beach.
There actually is a pull-in right there at the beach. You can pull right in. The gate is further in, and that's why they moved it. So you can pull in right there on the driveway to the beach and walk 20 steps. You should absolutely visit it if you haven't, because it's beautiful and it's public access.
I grew up using that beach, and the other beach where it's now private to swim out to the rocks on that island. So I'm aware of that area, but there's no public parking lot that somebody can use at the beach. So
Just on the little street across the street is
so
parking.
there's.
It's public parking, but
There's
I don't
the
want to argue.
Sportsman's Club, but that's
There's
not-
actually a street there next to Sportsman's Club for public parking, but that was my question, and I appreciate your thoughtful answer.
Anybody else?
It's been created.
Maybe it's this area.
Good evening. Steve O'Neill. I live at 315 Bullard Street. I actually don't have really any problem with the public access itself. I realize that the pond access points, there's already 3 public access points. My problem with this project is the fact that the town is already not monitoring the other public access points. And you're worrying about the wetlands and the ecology of the pond. Who's checking these boats and the bottoms of these boats for invasive species? If the town bought the property and we're allowing people to use it, which is great, I have no problem with that, who from the town is gonna be there to inspect the boats to make sure the invasive species don't come? I don't know if, I'm sure the board knows this, but most invasive species come on the bottom of boats. So who's gonna be there to check these boats before they enter the pond? I realize there is public space and the public should be able to use it, but who's gonna police this? Who's gonna inspect the boats? Who's gonna make sure whatever trash they bring in, they bring out? Who's gonna do that? Because right now, the town is not doing that for the public access. I understand that there's a lot of, that the public access should have access to the pond, it was purchased that way. that's fine, you know, and I don't have any problem if the town does it the right way. But right now, no one is policing it. That beach gets littered all the time. We have to call the police to have the kids kicked off the beach, to get rid of the trash that's down there. No one is policing it. And then what happens if water chestnut or any other sort of invasive species gets into that water? The residents on that pond, me being one of them, we pay to have weed removal done on that pond. We have to go through the Conservation Committee, as you know, to have that done. Who's gonna check these boats? You know, let them have a kayak, that's great, but you have to check the bottom of every boat that goes in. Or otherwise, if they use it in the ocean and then they put it in the pond, it could cause us to just get overgrown with lily pads, water chestnut, and then you're talking about invading the whole pond's ecosystem. You got bald eagles, turtles, all the different animals that live on there that could get affected by that. The commission really needs to have someone there, a gate up. If you do this, which and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Katie Sissel.
There's definitely room to pull in a car there, but even there, who's checking the boats there? The people that live on the pond that put the boats in, or the fishermen, they have a vested interest to make sure that there's nothing on those boats. The public, they're not gonna think to check the bottom of the boats for barnacles or anything like that. You gotta have something in place that keeps them from just bringing in boats, whatever they want, at any time. I know other ponds and larger towns have had to do that, but you're gonna have a problem if something comes in and it's an invasive species. What's the Conservation Committee gonna do if it gets overrun by water chestnut or lily pads? You know, I'm all for public access, but as a town, we need to do it responsibly and preserve that beautiful pond.
Well, first of all, this is the only access that the Conservation Commission has.
I'm sorry?
This is the only access that the Conservation Commission has.
I'm sorry. I was on the board for a number of years of Friends of Willet Pond. My understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, isn't there 3 public access points to this pond?
Not for the
Town-owned
Conservation
land?
Commission.
I'm sorry?
Town-owned land, this is the.
Town-owned land.
This is the only
Okay, so
town-owned.
owned land, okay.
There, as far as I'm aware, in
Okay.
the public access deed, there's
Okay.
2. There's one on Brook Street and there's one.
There's 2
here.
paths as well, if I'm correct.
There's 2.
Am I wrong, John?
Public access.
There's 3 in total, isn't there?
So, excuse
Only
me,
2? Okay.
excuse me.
My
you
apologies.
can't- You have to have
I'm
this
sorry.
conversation.
My apologies.
Not this conversation.
Well, I was just asking
Yep.
someone that's on the board to make sure. So there's
Can
2.
you hold on a second?
Sure.
Stephanie, can you put up the public access easement deed that I, so there's 2 public access easements that were negotiated.
Okay.
One at Brook Street,
Okay.
the beach, and then one on the outside of the peninsula, which abuts this property.
Okay. All right, I thought there was 3. That being said, so who, at those 2 public access points right now, who's watching those? Who's policing those? Before we develop a whole 3rd one, for
Not
even
there,
more
it's just
public,
2. This is.
this will be this will be on the 2nd one? Is that what you're saying?
The public access, the allowable public access easement is the beach.
Okay.
Off of Brook Street.
Yep.
Which is not town-owned land. The town really has nothing.
But it's public access, correct?
The public
Okay.
can access that, but
Great.
the town doesn't own land, and the town doesn't have really anything to do with it.
Okay.
The second one is here. The conservation land is about here.
Okay.
So we'd be crossing over and using this.
So just sticking with your access point then, just the
And
towns?
from here to North Street is quite a distance.
Yeah. No, I know. I live there. My question, though, is if the town's gonna own it, right? It's
Town does
town-owned,
own it,
right?
does own the
So the
land.
town's responsible for what goes in and comes out at that point?
The town is responsible for their land.
Yep.
And the town will be responsible for complying with the public access easement requirements.
Okay, so, and speaking of conservation, then, the Conservation Board's not concerned with invasive species? That's not
That's
something
not
you guys are worried
true.
about?
That's not a true statement. The Conservation Commission is very concerned with
Okay.
invasive species, yes.
So how do we check the boats that are going to be going in and out?
One
Before
of
we
the-
build it,
But-
shouldn't we
but
know that?
At a previous meeting, actually, we kind of joked and said, as you said too, I forget your name, Kate. It's extremely unlikely anyone is going to be hauling a boat, how many feet or yards? Well,
Why put it there?
because it's a walking trail out to a beautiful plain. I think it's closer to what Al said, he's, I forget how old, but older. And so it's a drop-off point for somebody with maybe kids or someone with an older person. We actually, we know there's a boat access there. I kayak, I probably wouldn't drag a kayak 200 feet through the woods. So we don't actually, I personally, and I think others agree with me, didn't actually see this as a major boat launch, but it is a way for the public, the whole public, to get to a new walking trail.
Right, but.
Actually, there's a new walking trail off of South Street that has a little pull-off as well, which you couldn't even use until there was that pull-off. I'm so glad that pull-off went in off of South Street.
I guess I'm just concerned with who's policing it. Who from the town's gonna be there to make
I
sure?
think it's more of a walking trail. I mean.
So are you gonna put up signs that say no boat?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, it's
This,
unlikely.
you realize you guys are kinda talking in circles here, like, you say it's not for boats, but then you don't wanna put up signs no for boats.
That has nothing to do with the Wetlands Protection Act.
What about
And
the
we're
invasive
only-
species? What does that have to do?
We're only
Does that have anything to do with it?
concerned with the Wetlands Protection Act for
Okay.
this permit.
Okay, question. Does invasive species impact the wetlands? Does invasive
Invasive
species impact the
species come in
wetlands?
the wetlands, but
Okay, so then it affects
nothing
the
to do
wetlands.
with this.
Wait a minute, you
Thank
just
for
said,
your
does this affect the
Thank you for
wetlands?
your concern, that's something that I think we should consider.
Yeah.
And I think that every landowner and every owner along the pond that has also access to the pond is equally responsible. The Conservation
You don't want
Commission.
the public policing it, do you?
Excuse me.
Okay.
The Conservation Commissioner, as the management of this property, will also be responsible, as we are for all other.
But who's gonna
property.
watch them?
So I think that's the answer.
me.
No, but I understand, but who's looking at the boats, though?
Excuse me.
So we there checking
Excuse
every
me.
boat?
Excuse me, may I, can
But
I,
nobody's answering my question.
can I address, I'll address
Yes,
this one.
please.
We're not required to.
Oh, okay,
I have friends and we boat up in New Hampshire.
okay.
And we can put in boats, you have to have a license, a permit, and you put in public launches. There's no one standing there. There are signs saying you cannot, check the bottom of your boat, you don't want to have all the things you just said, but there's no one standing there looking at the bottom of your boat. That's not the case.
Which pond are you talking about?
Winnipesaukee.
Winnipesaukee, yeah. I mean, you're talking
Okay.
about Winnipesaukee. It's got its own, you've got, compared to our little
Lake
pond.
Pemigewasset, Windsquam, you name it.
They're
There's no
they're
one
a lot
standing.
bigger than our pond, though, aren't they?
There's no one my point
Yep.
is there's no one standing there looking at the bottom of your boat. Anybody that's gone and boated up in New Hampshire or anywhere else knows that. There are rules, absolutely. There are signs, absolutely. There's no one standing there. There are hundreds of lakes in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, everywhere. You can't.
So let me ask you a question then, and then I'll yield my time. When, if and when we get an invasive species, are we gonna be allowed to treat that?
As you are right now.
And eradicate it?
As you do right
You do
now.
it now.
Okay, like water chestnut and all that, we can treat it with the chemicals, the
Going to the proper permitting before the board, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You already have a permit.
and those, there'll be signs there stating, like you just mentioned?
We can discuss that.
Okay.
But it's impossible to inspect every boat
Yeah,
going
no,
in.
I understand.
here.
At the same time, it's, if the invasive species gets in, like I own a house on the pond, my property value will plummet. The public's won't.
Well, this isn't going to be a major boat launch, sir. You know what I mean?
You say that, but I work at St. Tim's,
Sir.
and I have to kick people out of St. Tim's, dragging it down that
Yeah,
side.
that's something different. We're talking about this, and this is not going to be like lines of traffic going down there with boats. I mean, this is barely wide enough for walking down, never mind bringing a significant boat down there, so.
I guess I just reiterate what was said. If there's already a spot to put a boat in, why are we allowing another spot to put a boat?
I'll defer to the commissioner about that.
Thank you.
Yes. Identify yourself and
Gene Seats, 550 Fisher Street. You brought up a question just a moment ago about not using the current access there on the north side on Brook Street because there's no parking. There's less parking here, I believe, for this turnout. The reason that I question this turnout, if we make it more accessible, and deference to your age, I am 93, a long walk from Fisher Street, North Street to the lake. My property is 700 feet long, and I know how long that is walking. So I look at that access there as a good place, but not for cars, not for somebody unloading a boat, and not to be so hidden. Really, the other access that they have, there are houses that are really close, and somebody comes out in the evening, nighttime, and parks, offload 5, 6 kids that run off. He takes the car away, she takes the car away, comes back and picks them up 4 hours later. There was a house on the peninsula that this would service years ago. It was a little one-room cabin with a fireplace. When it was accessible, the wintertime, the lake was frozen, somebody decided to set fire to that cabin. It was a nice cabin. There was a priest that used to come and spend a couple of weeks at that cabin in the summertime. It's no longer there. I don't even know if the fireplace is still standing. I haven't been there in probably 4 or 5 years. The other thing was coming off of St. Timothy's, which was in...
I don't mean to interrupt you, but the thing is that we have,
Okay,
we have
this
a
is
cut.
getting
Just a
to
minute, please.
conservation.
Sir, just a minute.
You're interested
Sir,
in
just
not
a minute.
burning those
Sir,
trees
just a
down.
minute, please. It's just, we have a couple other public hearings after this. So I would just say if you could stick
Okay,
to a
this is
point
quick.
regarding the conservation land. I'm sure the other people that have to wait here for the next public hearing would also
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
This is quick, what I really wanted to say. The ease of coming across St. Timothy's to put a boat in. Now, this happened probably 20 years ago. Well, it must be more than 20 years ago because my son helped me put the fire out on the island directly in front of me. The islands, all the islands are covered with deep leaves. And that they had started a fire come off of St. Timothy's, 2 canoes came over there. They decided they're going to cook something, I think, or whatever. They started a fire and started the deep leaves burning. It took my son and myself 3 hours of pouring water on that fire pit area. It wasn't a pit, it was just sitting on the leaves. To
But
get
that has nothing to do
smoldering
with the
fire
Wetlands
out.
Protection Act and this access point. That
The-
has nothing to do with it.
Well, the access, you're making it convenient for people to be dropped off close to it.
So they can
I
walk-
don't have any problem with them going to Adams Farm, parking, and walking, because kids are not going to do that. An older person who is not going to start a fire out there would walk that distance. I would walk it if I wanted to. But the kids are not. But a hidden...
What's that got to
a
do
hidden
with the
parking
Wetlands
place,
Protection
not
Act?
parking place, but drop-off place is going to be bad. Their kids are going to use that to drop off, run out there and have a picnic. Just when I bought my land, they were finishing the peninsula coming out of Westwood. And that had been a major problem prior to that, because the kids could get onto that peninsula, go out to the end of it, and have all kinds of fun out there. And the police, if you can talk to any of the police back way back when.
Well, what's that got
They'll
to
tell
do
you,
with the
what has it got to
Conservation
do with
Act?
Conservation, what they're doing is messing up the land. They were doing it at that time, and they will do it now if they have a convenient way
Okay,
where nobody's gonna see them.
I think we have your concern, that you're concerned that this is gonna bring people to the property to do damage. Thank you very much. Is there someone else that
And
wants to
it's a
speak
consideration
to a
that should be
different
made,
issue
and
other
it is a
than,
consideration
the
of
safety
conservation.
or the, bringing in people that are gonna damage the property? If you could come up, there's a gentleman behind you that would like to speak. Like I said, we have other hearings, so I completely understand everybody has concerns, and it may be that the commission should hold another discussion for these more related questions. But if you could just come up and be brief, I think everyone.
I'll try to keep it brief. So Fred Schwartz, 15 Lakeview Drive in Walpole. First, I want to say, I really do, I know this group had a leadership role in acquiring this property, and I really want to applaud that choice. It's a beautiful piece of property. I'm personally, as a resident of Walpole, we moved to the town for just this type of open space, and I really want to thank you. I'm thrilled that also there'll be public access here. I think that this trail is a well-planned and a great idea, and is going to benefit the people of Walpole. So you use the phrase compromise, and I think we're very close to a really positive compromise. In my personal view, I think I would ask the commission to reflect on the possibility of tweaking the compromise to not include the turnout. I think that it's a beautiful piece of open space. It's fairly unscarred today, and this will be, you can sort of see it on the map, it sort of sticks out at you, a fairly new scar on a beautiful piece of open space. And I think that, as Katie said, it's fairly avoidable. The public has wonderful parking at Adams Farm. It can access via walking trails this property. And in terms of canoe launches, I'm hearing that frankly, this commission thinks it's not even going to be particularly useful for that. But even if that were not the case, Katie's exactly right. There is a superior pullout 20 feet from the water's edge at the street, which the public has an easement to, regardless of who owns it. And there's better parking across the street there on Pettit's Pond Way. And so when you actually stack it up, I'm not sure that this scar on a beautiful piece of land is going to have much return on investment for the town and the people of Walpole. And I think that the superior choice would be to do what this group has spent such a long track record of doing, which is conserve. And I think we can avoid, I forget the measurements, but a fairly 13 by 40 scar. I think it's avoidable with not too much return on investment versus actually the wonderful choice, which you all have led, which is to acquire this property and now give a nice access point. But let's keep it natural. That would be my encouragement and request you reflect on that. So thanks a lot.
Anybody else?
Somebody mentioned, Bob Ross, live on Ridge Road, North Walpole. Somebody mentioned trees. How many trees are gonna be cut down between North Street and to the water line? They're all mature white pine trees down there. You're gonna end up creating erosion problems by cutting down trees.
I might be able to answer that. Gary Riggett, on our Trails Committee, who makes beautiful, beautiful trails in town and maintains them with his group, doesn't really cut down trees. His chainsaw is in case a giant tree falls across, and then you'll see he goes boom, boom, out. But he doesn't actually, his trails tend to wind around.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But
So that's
different people
Gary's
on
the
board
trail
here
guy.
mentioned cutting trees down.
There will be a few trees cut down, but that is not many. Joe, do you know? It seemed to me like maybe.
I want to say, I know there's a couple of big ones. They're mostly small, minor ones. A couple maybe over 4 inches. I know for Scenic Road, we don't have to talk about any trees because they're not in the public right of way. They're all on commission land, so.
But there's not gonna be tree cutting all the way to the
Because it's on
water.
conservation land.
Are we talking about the trees all the way going down to the
No, we
pond, or
can't
just-
have,
Yes.
I'm sorry, we can't have side conversation. So the trees for the turnoff, because it's only 14 feet deep,
Right.
will be not that many, 3, 4,
Okay.
not that many. At the minimum amount as possible. We do
Okay.
not want to cut down all the trees.
So we're not gonna cut any other trees down to the water line from there?
No.
Don't want
no.
to. No, we don't anticipate, there's an open field, and then we will weave the trail. I mean, you can walk right now without cutting down anything.
And how wide is the path gonna be, by the way, from the drop-off to the water line?
As wide as Gary's paths typically are. And
I have
you
no
see them
idea.
all over town. Unless there's a pre-existing cart path that's already this wide, he usually has beautiful winding paths, because it's hard work. I mean, he's not looking to make gigantic trails. The idea is to go on any of Gary's trails, and you'll see.
From what, knowing how government is, okay? I feel that this is an opening down the road to using, down on the water line, using it for other uses.
That can't happen, sir. So the property.
Why is it?
I will explain. The property was purchased by the Conservation Commission, and it was approved by the Conservation Commission and the Board of Selectmen. It's not general town land. It's protected under Article 97. It can only be used for passive recreational uses, period. If it can't be sold. This is one reason why I went to the Conservation Commission. It takes a 2/3 vote of the Conservation Commission, 2/3 vote of the Board of Selectmen, 2/3 vote of the state legislature for Article 97 property to change use.
Okay.
And as well, there's a deed restriction that restricts what we can do with this property. But the Article 97 is really the highest protection you can have for any open space.
I'm familiar with those
Thank you.
controls. Oh, okay. So we're not talking about cutting any big trees down?
There will be a few trees that are cut down for the turnout. if they
Ironically-
decide to go forward with the turnout.
Ironically, the previous owner, New England Forestry, could have forested it, or what's it called?
They got trees down. They
So-
manage.
But that managed, yeah, it's called management.
Right.
But no, we don't manage forests in that manner. They do.
Is there a plan for the path already? Do you have a plan
No.
for the path already? Oh, you don't? Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Kathy Campbell, and this is Laura Fisk from 930 North Street. I think I just have a procedural question. I think I'm a little bit confused as to, the purpose of this evening is to review the wetlands plan and approve the notice of intent for the pullout. If that vote is passed tonight and the vote is approved to put in the pullout, will the residents have another conservation meeting to talk about some safety issues and where the paths are going, as well as attend the scenic road hearing? Or is it approved tonight and that piece sort of moves on without these other things being heard?
That's a good question. We're a commission and a board that's appointed by the selectmen to deal with the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Walpole Wetlands Bylaw. We're not tasked with other chores. And I understand the concerns, but this hearing is called for dealing with the Wetlands Protection Act and this small section of this property. At this point in time, we have no plans of clearing land anywhere else. we're gonna make a walking path that somebody can walk from the street here down to the pond. And it's not an easy walk. It's not flat land. So it's recreation for some people, and other people would try it once and they would never come back because it's too much of a walk. So, you know, I don't think that this is going to be a superhighway for anybody. And I do understand that people in the neighborhood, and as I say, I drive that road almost every day, and I'm concerned about people that walk there and the people that ride a bike there. I'm glad that I'm not riding a bike there, because you get a school bus and a car, there isn't any room for anybody else. So, you know, I understand the concern, but we don't have the authority to change the use of that road. We can deal with this small parcel of land and make it accessible to the pond for somebody to walk down there and maybe fish if they wanted to, or just sit and look at the water. But, you know, when they get down to the pond, they don't have a long distance to go. They're not going to swim to the other side of the pond or anything like that, I don't think. You may get somebody that swims for exercise, but, you know, this is not a superhighway to have a machine or something else going up and down the slope. Just people walking to enjoy the outdoors and the benefits of walking to a pond. I know that there are kids, and when I say kids, I think of 6 or 7 or 10-year-olds that like to see the pollywogs and the frogs and the turtles and things like that. But this isn't to provide a party site or anything like that. I don't think anybody would really carry all the necessities for a picnic very far, you know, so it's a limited use, so that's what we're looking at. That's what recreation on town conservation land is all about. How you walk your dog.
Al?
Yeah.
So just to further answer your question, is there is a public hearing for the scenic road, which is April 20th. So we would have to wait for that. So this isn't happening tomorrow. We did put forward capital budget money that was approved to do this project through town meeting. Town meeting approved money for this project. So it's not going to happen immediately. What I propose, unless there's any other question pertaining specifically to the wetlands and the Wetlands Protection Act, that we continue this public hearing to April 12th. I know Chairman Jack Wiley will be back by then, and I think he wants to have some input onto this, and that, you know, I know we seem to have, unfortunately, we just keep on having busy agendas, but we could listen to more of the discussion regarding the site on the 12th, or you guys come earlier on the 12th or something, you know, whatever you guys want to do. But I think because we have a couple other public hearings tonight, that I would recommend continuing it to the 12th and address some of these issues then.
I motion to continue.
Motion to that effect?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So what I would encourage with anyone who came tonight is if you put your concerns in email, or if you put it in a letter, and if you get together, and if there's multiple, if multiple people have the same concerns that you stated, you know, in one email or one letter, that as well will help the Conservation Commission direct the project itself. So, you know, we can't please everybody, but that we can take your concerns in. We know there's a safety issue. We want to make it safe. So people can go around. The whole point of the Conservation Commission is to bring people into these areas, which everyone loves and appreciates. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you for continuing the hearing.
The time would be what?
Thank you.
So we have one,
Thank you.
7:20, so 7:30 on the 12th.
No, Dan.
You're
the
always the
main
main
event.
event.
Do what?
And if you have conversations with each other, can you just go out in the hall, please, because we have other hearings?
Yeah,
Ridge Road, St. Timothy's? I don't even.
St. Tim's.
Holy
Town of Walpole Conservation Commission request for determination of applicability.
Interface between the electronics and you.
In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice is hereby given of the intent of Jamie McElhaney to request a determination of jurisdiction. Can you please go out in the hall? Thank you. Jurisdiction to construct a 164 square foot single-story addition and deck to the existing single-family home at 10 New Fisher Lane, map 18, lot 287 in Walpole, Mass. The request for determination, application, and plans are on file with the Conservation Commission. The public hearing on the above matter will be held in person on March 22nd, 2023, beginning at 7:30. All interested parties are requested to attend. John Wiley, Chairman, Walpole Conservation Commission. This is for New Fisher Lane.
Ready?
representing the applicant.
I am Debbie Anderson, I'm the wetlands consultant.
I'm Dan McElhaney, the owner. Dan.
Could you grab a microphone if you don't mind, please? No, you're good.
Oh.
Right on cue.
Look
Thank you,
at
sir.
this. Karaoke. It's not karaoke.
Thank God for you guys. Happy birthday in my house is painful. So this is a really minor project. It's exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act. In blue here is a bordering vegetated wetland on the northeast side of the property up in the corner. And this is the 25-foot no disturb, the 50-foot buffer, and that is the 100-foot buffer. Most of the project is located outside the 100-foot buffer, which is a single-story addition on the northwest side of the house. It's about 164 square feet. And this kind of striped red area is an existing deck. So the project that is within jurisdiction is an extension of the existing deck. So you can see that the 100-foot buffer kind of goes right through the middle of the proposed deck. In addition, there is an existing bulkhead that's going to be relocated to the new addition, which is outside of jurisdiction, as I mentioned. This orange line here is the erosion control, and it's right outside the 50-foot. There's also erosion control going down. This is going to be the access on the left-hand side. It's existing lawn. The stockpile area will be outside of jurisdiction right there. Let's see. So they are proposing a pergola on top of the proposed deck extension. And the access will be right along the left-hand side here. And I think that about covers it. Happy to take questions.
So it looks to me like the deck extension is within the 100-foot buffer, but the one-story addition is outside the 100-foot buffer. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And tell me about this deck extension. How are you going to do that?
Well,
What's the construction, I think he's asking?
It's a fantastic question. Just like the existing, it's just wood posts on the bottom. I don't know what they call it, but with, the beams going across and Trex decking, I believe.
You're going to dig holes, dig a foundation?
No
or-
foundation, I think just holes.
yeah,
That's
and
it.
there are photos that show the existing deck.
Yeah, it's standard.
Okay.
Sonotubes and stuff like that.
So there's no big excavation. There's, how many post holes do you need?
Existing deck has 4, so I'd imagine 6 or 8, but probably 6.
Okay.
I want to build a deck.
And no vegetation will need to be removed, no trees. It's existing lawn right now.
So that doesn't look like a project that's going to damage any wetlands.
That's the plan.
The big deal with foundations and such is people dig a hole and then they have all this soil and they want to use that to fill in wetlands, so you don't have a whole lot of soil to fill in wetlands. Dean, anything?
No, no questions.
No questions.
What's that?
Landis?
My only question is, I know you originally came in for a notice of intent, and then you redesigned the project, and now it's a determination, clearly a determination. You do have a detention basin on your property. You're aware of the maintenance of the
Yep.
detention basin and everything? Okay, that was my only question. That
Okay.
It does need to be maintained, and as long as you're aware that it.
Yeah, actually, we have the paperwork that explains, you're supposed to monitor the sediment and make sure that the inlet and outlet are not clogged up, and, we clear growth out of there occasionally, but we've lived there for 10 years, and there are some trees that just kind of naturally that were probably there and they were small, and now they may be 20 feet high, like in certain areas of the wetland. It doesn't seem to be, impeding anything from operating, but there's just been more growth, since we've been there, and I don't know what necessarily our responsibility is, we're not planting these trees in there, but
Yeah, you just want to maintain the basin so that the trees and the roots of the trees don't compromise the structures, the outlet structure, or the berm of the basin.
okay.
Some people mow the basins all the time. Others let some of the trees, I think if there's some trees in the basin that's okay, but they shouldn't grow to a
If it
point
just
where they're
becomes so overgrown,
compromising.
it's like blocking
Right, you don't
anything.
want to compromise
Yeah.
you don't want to compromise the berms, you don't want to compromise the outflow structure, and you don't want to compromise the volume, so that's what
Okay.
you should be aware of. I always like to educate homeowners when they're doing other things and they have basins.
No,
They don't need to know what
that's
they
super
are.
helpful, like when we bought the house, they're like, oh yeah, you own this too, like, so yeah, I better figure out what I'm supposed to do here, but,
And I also have a check to return to you too, because of,
okay.
This is a rare occurrence.
Wow.
Rare occurrence.
Now I'm
Wow. Conservation Commission.
Returning, unless you want to donate it.
Unless, donate it. Is that like a 50-50 raffle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, if
It's
it's
been a long
less
day.
than $50,
Really, we're giving back money?
it's not a
So I
gift,
recommend the
or
negative
you know, whatever.
We're not allowed to accept that, actually.
Landis recommends a -3. Have a motion to that effect.
I'm with that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Congratulations.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Good job.
Strategic being behind that first zoning meeting. Strategic. Super strategic. Let's get it through.
You had to wait for it, so. Okay, Hayden, get back on track.
Oh.
Too late for that.
Last meeting was like 3 weeks.
Town of Walpole Conservation Commission, notice of intent in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice is hereby given of the intent of Marilyn Ryan Trust to remove and replace an existing deck, spa, patio, walkway, and fire pit within 100 feet of the wetlands resource area in Walpole. Plans are on file with the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in person March 22nd, 2023, beginning at 7:45. All interested persons are requested to be present. Contact Conservation 508-660-7253 with questions. John Moyley, Chairman, Walpole Conservation Commission. We just have another letter from the same comments from the Board of Health.
Board of Health will not be meeting before comments are due on March 22nd. Therefore, the Health Department would like to make comments based on Board of Health standard motion. The Board of Health is not in favor of construction within a 100-foot buffer zone. The Board of Health urges the homeowners to adopt the standard best practice for mosquito mitigation and to work with Norfolk County Mosquito Control for spraying and standing water treatments. Representing the applicant.
I will just, sorry, before you begin, so we have not received the DEP number. Did you send all the information to DEP and check the lockbox and all that? Okay, so they,
receipts of that as well.
so they must be behind. So
Sure.
the commission can't close the public hearing until we get a DEP number, but move forward.
My name is Dave Marquardt, from J.D. Marquardt out of Hopkinton. Edward Ryan, owner and applicant, and Doug DeWolf, who's going to be overseeing the installation of a patio in the back. So we're at 16 Hayden Lane. We're the end house on the road in Symphony Park subdivision. Highlighted in the little pink there is our property line. The end of the cul-de-sac is right here. Our dwelling is highlighted in the orange. Driveway in the brown, septic in the front, serviced by town water. Our activity tonight is behind the house. What exists behind the house is a wetland highlighted in the green, 25-foot buffer, 100-foot buffer. We have an existing deck right here that's 12 by 18. We're looking to remove that deck and replace it with a smaller deck by 4 by 8. And then build a patio with a spa in the patio, a small walkway from the patio to the driveway. We have a little bulkhead with a few stairs, a walkway with a fire pit. Right now, the backyard is all lawn. Treed area and lawn area is this purple line that goes around all the way through here. We have a drainage easement on our property, manhole here, with a head wall down in here. We're proposing erosion controls, which is this orange line right through here. And the limit of work will be our erosion controls. Most of our activity on this end of the property is at 79 feet away. And then our activity on this end is at 27 feet. We're proposing 2 of your wetland bounds here with a snow fence in that immediate area there. That's kind of what our proposed activity is.
Okay, Landis?
So I did go out and look at the site the other day. Noticed there was 3 deer out there when I went to visit. I think I scared them away. I noticed one bound, oh, I see, how the C bound, is that conservation bound, right?
Yes.
The plaques, the signage was gone, but the posts were there.
We only found 2, and you're
I
right.
didn't see any others
I didn't
either.
see any others, yeah.
That's curious, I don't know.
I think on the COC back in '05, I think it had maybe 4 bounds there.
Yeah.
It was almost a straight line that went this way. The wetland in '97 was about right through here.
Right, okay, all right, so that might have just been it. So, yeah, it's great, you're putting those additional bounds there. It seemed to be minimum work, it's all grassed area existing, so looks like you're changing the grades a little bit, so you're gonna be bringing in a little more fill to,
Right,
for
yep,
the grades?
yep.
And you'll be accessing through the driveway?
Exactly, yep.
And if you need to stockpile in the driveway?
Yeah, we're not gonna, we're hoping that what we bring in is for that particular day. Any lumen seed that we take off from this year in the area of the patio, we're gonna plop it right in, right next door in that shoulder that we're gonna recreate.
And I did notice on your end, you have a straw wattles, the Conservation Commission wants the compost socks.
Okay.
So that needs to be fixed. And then as far as the bounds, on top of the bounds is the plaque with the language, no disturbance beyond this point.
Correct, yes.
Okay. I have a question. What is a fire pit?
Well,
Just an open fire area, that's all. You sit around it and
keep warm on a cold night.
Oh, okay, see now,
It's not a bonfire.
and it's not a trash
Oh, God, no,
burning
no,
place?
no, no, no.
Okay.
The whole premise of this is a place for our ever-growing number of grandchildren
Okay,
to come and
that-
enjoy their backyard.
That's what I was looking for. Okay, now I understand. Because,
We just had a new one.
Trash that costs thousands and thousands of dollars.
see, when I hear fire pit, you know, in the news, there's quite often regarding military burning of trash and soldiers having problems with their health afterwards. Okay, so I want to make sure that,
That's a,
nothing like that.
okay,
Another meeting.
I can assure you that will not be going on.
okay.
we not be burning military-grade equipment.
I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here.
Absolutely.
Okay. Dean, any comments?
Nope, no comments. I won't.
Haley?
Question, what is the snow fence? What is it and what is it for, I guess?
It's a snow fence that quite honestly, I've seen on one of your other projects where your activity was close to the 25-foot. So we volunteered to throw in a small section of snow fence as a
Snow fence is
extra barrier.
it's a demarcation of like a style of fence. It's like
Oh,
orange
okay.
construction
It's like-
fence.
So
It's
you
an
won't go
orange fence.
past
It's
it, it's
an
just kind of like a
orange
visual,
Raises the flag.
okay,
Yep.
and that'll go away when it's done?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And just curious if it's possible to extend your erosion control that kind of cuts into the middle of the end of the driveway, just to the tip of it? In case like the trucks are turning around? Yeah, that's it.
We could do that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, that's it.
The purple line, that's the lawn right now?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. How old is this house?
21 years.
21. So you're within the 25-foot no disturb, so you have lawn within that. Was that, no,
No, back in
No, it's not.
'97,
97.
The wetland wasn't there.
the wetland was here.
It's creeped up.
It's crept up that much? Or really? Wow, okay, yikes.
Stop River.
Yeah, it either crept up or sometimes there's slightly variation
Okay.
of the delineation,
gotcha.
the dime.
So that you weren't within the 25 back in the day? Okay, I see. I
Were you
see.
here?
I was here. I was here,
What,
yes.
what, no, I'm just kidding.
You let this slide.
fight.
I think I started in 2002, so that was about the time when Symphony Park, which is a rather large subdivision,
Yeah.
went in and the houses started constructed.
Is there a plaque on the far right where the 25, see where it kind of takes a sharp? Yeah, if you continue that line to the right, all the way to the end, keep going. Are there any plaques anywhere else along that line, the 25-foot right now?
That we're proposing?
Right now, are there any?
No.
No.
I think the plaques that, I think the four that were probably in the COC were in this area.
Right. So you're proposing to put them where? You're proposing to put them where?
One there and one there.
Okay, I'd like to see a few more, actually, along the 25-foot. Right to the right where down further, maybe one, like, as it takes a corner, down, way down, keep going. Yeah, right there, and then along the 25-foot, further, continuing, maybe one there as well. What do you think about that, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot I have one more question if
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah, I'm done.
There's a rinsing station in the kind of bottom right. What is that?
Doug, can you answer that?
If you are in the spa and you wanted to wash off the.
Just like a little outdoor shower kind of thing? Awesome,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank us.
And you want two more plaques, one at the triangular and one
Yeah, halfway.
almost to the property line,
Yeah,
near the easement.
yes, please. Thank you.
Nope, I have no comment.
Okay. Anybody in the room have a question?
Ruby.
Okay. What do you want to do, Landis?
What do you want to do?
I'm okay.
Motion to close?
Yeah, I'm okay if you want to make a motion to close contingent upon getting a revised plan that shows compost sock, the additional plaques that are requested. Oh, we don't have a DP number, we can't
No, we
close
can't
it.
close.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have to add more.
But if you can get those revisions, then on the 12th, they can just close it.
Okay, sounds great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It'll have to be continued to.
What are the times we have so far?
7, 7:15, 7:20, 7:30.
7:10? I mean, if it's really that fast, I don't know.
You did not.
What's the 7 Main Street?
Yeah.
I mean, you could put it at just, I don't know, what do you want to do? You could put it like 7:05 and just open
Yeah.
Main Street and then say we're gonna continue
Yeah.
it to 7:10 and just
Yeah.
open it and close the hearing and issue the order, but, or you,
Maybe, it's a thought.
whatever you.
You
Yeah,
think we'll have the number by then? Right?
If it's that straightforward, I mean, to sit,
It just might confuse things. If you
Oh.
maybe do it at 7:35
I could
and
do-
if it's really
all right.
easy that you guys don't have to be here.
yeah, okay.
Good news, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. You've had a long night.
I'll move that.
okay.
Had longer, but yeah, we're getting there.
Sure.
35 going once.
Second.
Going twice.
I'll be virtual.
All in favor?
11 o'clock.
So
Pointing out, this is a
the
7:45
public
hearing,
hearing
it's
for
not.
Hayden, 16 Hayden Lane will be continued to April 12th at 7:35.
Thank you.
If I have to do this, like twice a month.
I've been in that a year though, so.
Okay, one more to go, guys.
First there, maybe?
All right.
Dan, this better be a
And
slam
the man.
dunk. Slam dunk, Dan, that's what we're gonna start calling you.
It's quite a night you've had.
No one's here for you, Dan, what the hell?
We're here
Boring.
for him.
I'm boring. On
Boring's
purpose.
good. Boring's good for
Boring's
business.
excellent.
We've had more exciting nights than that.
Okay,
Over a turnout.
protocol.
All the humanity.
Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, notice intent in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice is hereby given of the intent to Thomas Powers to perform work associated with redevelopment of the site for the proposed mixed-use building appurtenance at 132, 136, 140 Washington Street, map 20, lot 32 in Walpole. Notice of intent, application, and plans are on file with the Conservation Commission. The public hearing on the above matter will be held in person, well, was on December 14th, 2022, beginning at 8 p.m., and it's been continued to this evening. All interested persons are requested to be present. Contact Conservation with questions. John Wiley, Chairman, Walpole Conservation Commission. So we're continuing the public hearing because the commission had requested additional information regarding the mitigation for invasive species removal off-site in compliance to section 10.585
Gee, I think.
G. something like that.
Subpart F.
A report with additional information was submitted today. Well, I read it today, and Dan American is here to kind of go over what is new and interesting.
Sure. Thank you. So, yeah, I had tried to email her last week, but it got lost in the town's email system, so I delivered it to Landis today. So I know she hasn't had a lot of a chance to review it. So one of the things we talked about at the last meeting was you want a little table about the riverfront stuff. So if you look at page 3 in my narrative at the top, you'll see that table. As a redevelopment, the basic premise is you're allowed to have up to the existing degraded area. So as we talked about at the last meeting, some of the areas that were formerly developed have revegetated and are no longer considered degraded. So what we have for degraded areas now is 4,629 square feet. So kind of that's our starting point. There's a strip along the Hollingsworth and Vose property that's 971 square feet that's degraded. It's barren area that we're proposing to restore, revegetate, plant, loam, seed. So that is land area that we can now use around our proposed redevelopment pad. And in the final analysis, we basically have an extra 6,863 square feet of work that we want to do in the riverfront area beyond the current degraded area. So there's provision in the regulations to allow that with on-site and or off-site mitigation. Some of the on-site mitigation we're proposing is to basically permanently ensure that there are no invasive species on the site. There are presently invasive species in that area where the town's sewer line is, so there could be a continuing condition that the owners of the property maintain that free of invasive species in perpetuity. The off-site mitigation, and Landis and I worked with a consultant that we brought on, Ruby Environmental, to look at possible areas along Bird Pond. And can you throw up? No, you don't.
Yeah.
I sent it. Oh. You didn't get that today? No.
So the report.
We all have it.
it's in
All right,
the
you
report.
have it. So if you look at,
Yeah, it's in the report.
It's one of the sheets with the,
if you look at sheet 4 and sheet 3 at the very end, my 11 by 17s, kind of what we had originally talked about maybe tackling an area that has a lot of, it's not even bittersweet. What was it, Landis?
It was porcelainberry.
Porcelainberry. But I think the consensus was that it would be better to tackle the area where the trailhead starts, which is closer to the dam, because it's an area that we can, I think, do a much more long-lasting invasive species removal program.
is there a lot there?
There's a decent amount there, and it's something that, we're proposing basically a 4-year plan. So the initial program would begin, identify all the species once everything is leafed out, cut the invasives, remove them, and then treat those stumps, the root stumps, and then come back every year for the next 3 years after that, and would have our consultant come back and just continue to maintain that. And that over that 4-year period, you'd get a very effective removal, and then our consultant could even, I know that the town probably has staff that is licensed to apply herbicides, that our consultant could even train some of the DPW staff on how to maintain that area, as they're walking out the door. So that's something that, could become something that is pretty easily permanently maintained as invasive-free. So our consultant, Ruby Environmental, put together a plan. It's included in the package, basically talks about the identification and the follow-up and how they're going to go about doing it. I know that Landis sent it out to Neponset.
Yes, so I did send it out to Neponset River Watershed Association, just
They
to
seem to
get
like
kind
it.
of their input. They've had input on the pond and the area. Did you read I did
Yeah, they
send
seem
you
to
the-
like the plan.
Yeah, so they first just discussed, they haven't looked at the whole application, but I did send them this particular new plan, and I will read some of the points, because I printed it, but I guess I didn't put it in your package. So we have reviewed the proposed invasive species and control plan and find it to be generally well-designed. We would add the following observations. We appreciate the adaptive management style approach of the monitoring, evaluation, treatment, retreatment that is being proposed. The 3-season treatment is appropriate but should be considered the minimum number of seasons needed for success. Additional specificity about species and their expected treatment should be added to the plan as part of the Phase 1 work. We agree with the cut and dab process proposed for bittersweet and the foliar herbicide applications for multiflora rose and Japanese knotweed. Appropriate treatment seasons seem to be identified for these 3 principal species. During the first year, it may be desirable to cut and dispose of the knotweed in the early summer so that the plants will be smaller and lower in the fall, making it easier to apply the foliant herbicide with minimum impact on non-targeted plants. To the extent that any resprouts of knotweed are found in subsequent years, we urge that they be addressed with spot herbicide treatment rather than only mechanical removal. We would also urge you to include the triangle-shaped remainder of the conservation parcel to the east of the treatment area in the monitoring and treatment regimen. This area is much less impacted by invasives, which should make including it minimal additional expense, but doing so would help ensure that this area does not provide a reservoir for invasives to repopulate the area proposed by treatment. Lastly, the plan does not specify that herbicide application will be implemented by a licensed applicator, though we presume this will be the case given we understand this is required on all publicly owned property. And this is from Kerry Snyder.
So there's nothing in there that troubles me. I'll forward that to Ruby Environmental and just ask them to kind of review that and update if they need to their proposal.
So you're okay with adding that additional?
I think so. I need to talk to them. I mean, this is not an inexpensive undertaking, but if there's not a ton over there, which I don't think there is,
I don't think there is.
I think that's probably doable.
And have you had any contact with DEP in regards to this? I haven't gotten.
I
any
emailed it to them last Wednesday when I emailed it to you. I have not had any contact with them or from Andrew Point. So with that, that's basically like a 4-to-1 off-site mitigation proposal, and the wetlands regs say minimum 2-to-1 in terms of land area.
I'm excited.
Slam dunk, Dan.
That's what I'm saying. Me neither, it's so great.
Now, when are we continuing this to?
Well, so, yeah, I want to send the comments to Ruby Environmental, so I'm going to be here on the 12th for Lot 4, New World Estates, so maybe, I don't know if you want to move Lot 4 to a different time, and we could just put these together. Oh, you have? Okay,
That's at 7:15.
okay, fine. That's fine, so if you have time for me on the 12th, hopefully we can put this thing to bed.
How many do we have so many so far?
Excuse me.
Ooh.
We have 400 Main Street, a new NOI filing, Leadenhall, Mill Street, and Hayden.
Well, Hayden almost doesn't count, but yeah.
So I think if you can incorporate the Napontet's comments into your proposal, that I would be in favor for it.
Sure.
So. Want to squeeze it into the next meeting, or?
Sure.
So you could
Wait,
squeeze.
wait, wait,
Right,
wait.
Betsy's bringing snacks.
Wait, so where is this in conjunction with the turnoff?
Turn off.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Turn off.
We can put it at 7:25.
Before.
Wait a minute, you're here for something else? What
Yeah.
time is he here
What?
for? What time is his,
7:15, so I would almost put it at like
7:20.
7:16 or 17.
7:17?
If you want. So you have to talk really fast for the Litchfield Way notice and time, which should go pretty easy.
You know, I like to keep everything straightforward and simple, so
Yep.
fast as possible.
And then go into the, and then go into this. And if you're simply not incorporating, if there's a snag with incorporating Napontet's recommendations, then continue it to the next meeting, but.
Yeah, I don't see there's gonna be any issue. So the plan's
Yep.
been done for a while, so it's really, this was the last kind of thing.
Yep.
I think it would be nice to have it off our agenda.
Yeah.
Like 7:17.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
That makes
It
sense.
does to me.
I'll accept a motion to that effect.
Second. Oh, I mean, I'll move that, I'm sorry, go ahead, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks,
Dan.
Dan.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You as well.
You too.
What's left?
What's left? Sleep.
Excellent.
So I think, as far as the agenda, I think you guys have the minutes from 3:18. Do you guys have the minutes?
Yep.
I just have one comment. It's totally fine how you phrased it, but when I read, just on the first page, Zimba provided a few changes to the fast track permits. I was like, oh my God, what changes did I provide? It was like, maybe you could clarify like copy
Yes,
edits
I
or
will.
grammar or something, because I didn't
Yep.
really change them. You made me nervous. Thank
This was a
you.
dream meeting.
I know, dream meeting
Yeah.
goes down in the books.
So I move we accept the minutes as amended.
I
All
will
in
second.
favor?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
So, North Street Conservation Land Rover, I think we kind of went through that tonight. Willett Access Gift, nothing new to report.
We do have, the select board approved our gift.
Oh, that's, you can say that one.
So the select board accepted the gift acceptance on March 14th in the amount of $2,225 for Willet Pond Gift
Great.
Access Account.
Woohoo.
All right.
At some point, we'll have to use that money there.
Pizza party.
Or
Pinnacle Trail, nothing new on that. Let's take off stormwater erosion control bylaw regulations off the agenda.
Yeah,
April
it's our-
4th.
I thought we finished that.
It's
I
been
thought we
made. Yeah, April 4th, they will review the master plan. I cannot go.
The master
But we did a poll and I couldn't make the date, but maybe they chose that date for a reason. So I will look at the master plan, but all of the meetings thus far have really, we've done a great job, including Conservation Commission and land conservation and all of the goals of the master plan, so. That's it.
Represent Dean. Thank you.
That's right.
Excellent.
I have nothing new on the enforcement orders.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything on the DOA? Wall Street development?
There's nothing on the DOA. Someone heard rumors that something had happened, but I contacted KPR and nothing's happened yet. Nothing.
What's the Keolis doing?
So that's their yearly operation plan to manage their right-of-ways, the vegetation.
What do they do?
Spray nasty.
Poison down.
They spray the chemicals where it's allowed, and I don't know if you're aware, but if you walk along the railroad tracks, you'll find little markers on the ties that mean something to the driver of
Blue and
this.
brown. Blue water, brown up.
Yeah. And the applicator, when he comes to one of those markers, he knows what to do, and it goes pretty easily. I rode along it once in one of those things that you push the lever back and forth to get going.
Like the Old West?
God, was that in black and white TV or?
Was the train chasing you? You have to go fast.
You can actually go places to do that these days and pay money.
Pay money to do it, I was gonna say, it's an experience.
There's an opportunity, Al.
But that's what they.
Maybe we
what
should
they
do that, that's how
uh,
people get down to the pond.
Please.
They do that to check on the location for these little markers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They update them every year to make sure they're
Oh, cool.
visible.
That's neat.
Cool.
But if you're interested, we can provide you the link to the report and you can have a go at it. It's pretty much-
Walk along the
Probably-
railroad track.
Oh, I work with MBTA enough.
pretty much been the
Good.
same for the past 20 years
Good.
that I've been here. They used to actually provide it to us.
They're like, you want it?
Yep. Very good.
Al, you
That's
good?
it to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sure.